Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Las Vegas? Happy Monday. It's Vegas Take time. Glad you could join us, Sharp and Shapiro. Happy to be here. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend. I wouldn't say my weekend was fantastic. It was pretty good. It was decent. But, boy, we got a lot to go over. Coming up here in just a few minutes, we will be speaking with longtime reporter and journalist, very well-respected John Stossel will be joining us here in a few minutes. This is going to be interesting. At the bottom of the hour, I've been chomping at the bits to talk a little UNLV hoops. Really bad loss over the weekend to BYU. We'll talk a little bit about that. Hour number 10, Michael Avenatti will be joining us. His boy Joe Biden, I was very disappointed with the way I guess you could call it his behavior over the course of the last several days. We'll get to that coming up in hour number 2. And then hour number 3, the guys from the hit show on the Las Vegas Strip, Potted Potter, will be joining us. But first, as I mentioned before, this is a guy, I used to watch this guy on the show 2020 with Barbara Walters with my family. Back in the day, we all used to watch this guy. We used to love him, and of course, he's the host of Stossel TV now, a longtime award-winning reporter and journalist, and we're very happy to have him on the show. That would be John Stossel. John, thank you so much for being here. How are you?
I'm good. Except you used to love me. You don't love me anymore.
No, John, I still love you, and you have by the way, you've always had the best mustache in TV as well. I wanted to add that as well, if that's okay.
Well, I can't stop you since you already did.
So I have a lot to get to talk with you about, John. But I guess the first question, since you've been a reporter and a great reporter for such a long time and journalist, do you think we've ever had more divide politically in the country than we have right now?
There were times in the past where people were slugging each other with canes on the floor of Congress and real bitterness and the Civil War, but certainly in my lifetime, no. And I blame the wonderful Internet and social media because the algorithms just give us more of what they figure out we will look a fraction of a second longer at. And that tends to be stuff that pisses us off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Then it feeds us more of our confirmation bias. And one example from my son was he lives in Brooklyn, and in his world, everybody gets their news on their Facebook feeds or Instagram. And when Bernie lost to Hillary in the New York primary 4 years ago, his whole community was freaking out, saying, that just can't be. Everybody I know loves Bernie, and everybody hates Hillary.
Right.
And we're introduced to smaller worlds that think like us.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I want to talk to you a little bit about left-wing bias in Hollywood because you recently did an interview with Kevin Sorbo. I want to play this clip real quickly, and then let's comment on it. Here it is.
Kevin Sorbo, who starred in the Hercules TV series, spoke up about his conservative views. What happened?
All of a sudden the calls, less calls. My agent said, we better part ways. And I went, wow, okay. And I made a lot of money for these guys.
You ask him, why do we have to part?
Oh, I knew why. They told me why. They were pretty straightforward about it.
Being a Christian conservative in Hollywood is kind of a death sentence.
It's like being a double leper. That's what it's like.
What do you mean a double leper?
They want nothing to do with me.
He's even been banned from conventions. I turned down Sorbo. He's pals with Sean Hannity. You've been banned from Comic-Con?
They have their hate, right? They're the ones who say, we need to be tolerant, we need to have love, and all this kind of stuff. They're the most anti-tolerant people and hateful people that we have right now.
John, I found that interview to be very fascinating. Do you feel like there's hundreds of other people in Hollywood, just like Kevin Sorbo, that are maybe afraid to come out and with their political views?
Hundreds? I don't know, but definitely many. And this is a good example of what I do now, just since you played that clip. When I had my show at Fox, I didn't love doing a live show. It's not my skill. My skill is doing research and editing different viewpoints together. And we release a new one every Tuesday now. So if your listeners want to get that, please sign up for my emails.
Yeah, no doubt. And you do a great job with that. You know, we talk a lot about global warming on this show. Is it real? Is it not real? I know this is something you talk about, and you do a good job doing that, and you have your views on it. Isn't it true that you have a phone on your desk, a green phone? Correct me if I'm wrong. And you've reached out to Al Gore and many others that are say that global warming is as serious as it is, and these people, they will not reach out to you. Why is that?
They just feel any discussion with skeptics will undermine their message of we have to panic and spend gazillions of dollars on subsidies for our favored people, and it's against the algorithm. Everybody around me knows it's a crisis. And
right.
Just to talk about this, though, I think you have to share the language, because the way they say it, climate deniers. Well, nobody denies there's a climate.
Right.
Climate change. No, nobody I know sensible denies that. Climate changes, always has, always will. The globe's been warming for 800 years.
Mm-hmm.
The real issue is it a crisis? Well, does man make it happen? And I would say now, yeah, we contribute to greenhouse gases. Is it a crisis? We got 2 million people dying of dysentery around the world.
Right,
A million
right.
dying in Africa from malaria. That's a crisis and worth spending money on. But is this a crisis? I don't know. And even if it is, there is nothing we can do about it now that will make one whit of difference. And what we're doing now is just costing poor people money, enriching the Al Gores of the world who invest in these schemes. And it's not going to make one whit of difference in temperature. I mean, maybe 10 years down the road we'll invent a carbon-sucking machine, and then if it really is a serious problem, we can address it then if we're rich enough to invest in that, and if we haven't bankrupted ourselves with these stupid ideas.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, by the way, we're speaking with award-winning reporter, journalist John Stossel, host of Stossel TV. John, I think we agree when it comes to that stuff. You know, I believe that, maybe there are some things we can do to benefit, the air and all this stuff and smog and all this other stuff. But I don't think it's a crisis. I don't think the world is ending in 10 years. And I do believe the Democrats, including Ocasio-Cortez, I think they all embarrassed themselves with this Green New Deal. I think you want to ask me what a crisis is, John, and you tell me if you agree or not. I think it's gun violence. I think we need a mental illness. I think we need to stop putting guns in the hands of the wrong people. Would you agree with that?
Sure, but there's no way I know to do that. To decide who's mentally ill and who isn't is a very tough job. If someone clearly demonstrates a threat, then okay, do something about that.
Yeah.
But also, the gun violence, people are talking about it like it's increasing. It isn't. There's just more hysterical publicity about it.
So you think that...
Let me quibble
go
with
ahead.
your point about the air and water. The greenhouse gases are not pollutants. It's carbon dioxide. It's what we exhale. It's what plants breathe. But the government action has been wonderful when it came to pulling the EPA requiring catalytic converters on cars and scrubbers and smokestacks to get the nitrogen oxide and sulfur out of the air. I couldn't open a window in New York City when I was younger, and now I can. So that's been good.
I think I agree with you. Mentioning how the internet is basically ruining everything, and what's happening now.
Not everything. Hey, Facebook's wonderful.
Well, I'm just saying, but it's everything is kind of coming full circle. When heinous crimes have taken place for years and years and years, but now when something heinous takes place, like a school shooting, something along those lines, the internet it's broadcasted. So it's broadcasted everywhere now. It's right in front of our faces, and that's because of the internet.
Exactly. And frankly, people used to say that it's because of TV.
Yeah.
It used to be a murder in Nebraska. People really wouldn't pay attention to the rest of the country. Now it leads the news because people watch, ratings go up, and people think crime is going up when it's going down. School shootings are flat, but crime in general is going down.
Well, John, you've had quite the career, and we can talk about many interviews that you've done, but I have to bring this one up back in 1984 because people are still talking about it today. Dr. D, the interview you did with the professional wrestler. I want to play this clip real quickly just for our listeners, and then we can talk about it.
I asked Schultz questions that I assume all wrestlers have been asked dozens of times.
What? Is this a good business?
Yeah, it's a good business. I wouldn't be in it if it wasn't.
Why is it a good business?
Because only the tough survive. That's the reason you ain't in it. And this punk holding the camera reading he ain't in it. Reading these rednecks out here ain't in it because it's a tough business.
That's terrific.
What, is that all you got?
I'll ask you the standard question. You know,
Standard question.
I think this is fake.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake? Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh? You think it's fake?
Now, okay, so I don't mean to laugh at this because this was a crime that this man committed, right? He socked you in the face a couple times, causing permanent hearing damage with you, right, John? I mean, what do you remember back then about that interview that you still it's in the back of your head?
I was doing a 2020 piece on how pro wrestling is fake, and a third of the people believe that it's real, and I was a high school wrestler, so I always wanted to do the story.
Right.
It was entertaining. And finally we got a professional wrestler who would go take me to a ring and show me how they fake some things. And I just wanted to set up the 2020 piece with an interview with some real wrestlers, and Vince McMahon gave me a couple guys. And the third one was this guy, Dave Schultz, 6'8", 280 pounds, and he beat me up.
God, that is incredible. So and you had permanent hearing damage from that assault, correct?
No, I had ear pain.
Ear pain,
and
okay.
It gradually went away. A side note, I sued them because I thought WWF should be told they can't go have reporters beaten up. And
right.
Yeah, that sounds valid to me.
Told someone,
yeah.
Man told him to do it. Part of a lawsuit, they send you to their doctor, and their doctor said, I think this is a jurosomatic illness.
Oh, jeez.
What's that? You're holding on to your pain because you're involved in a lawsuit. And I said, you're just a hack for the defendant, and you haven't even examined me, and you say that? And he backed off. But I think he was onto something, because as soon as I did get paid, the pain gradually would go away. There's a lot of people who are involved in lawsuits hold on to their pain. And when you see those signs around Las Vegas, been in an accident, call Joe Schmo. We'll
That's
get
true.
you the money. Think about that.
That's true, John. That happens all the time.
There are about 20 different attorneys on billboards in Vegas.
There's no question about it. But listen, you've interviewed presidents. You've interviewed so many different people. You've had so many great interviews. So let me ask you a two-part question. What was your most popular interview or your favorite interview that you've done in your career thus far? And who is somebody that you've never interviewed before that you've always wanted to talk to?
God, perhaps. I can't answer with interviews because I don't really do interviews. I do videos, pieces. I edit them together. And
right.
My favorite was the one we called Are We Scaring You to Death, where ABC finally let me do an hour that ranked risks, and they were surprised that it got good ratings, and it pointed out that the stuff we're scared of is not what's likely to get us. And my most watched hour, which was 17 million viewers, which was because our stupid government was banning cable at the time, and so they kind of had a captive audience. But Game of Thrones had 13 million. I got 17 million for Boys and Girls, Men and Women Are Different, which at the time and even now is somehow controversial.
Well, they're different, but it seems like some men want to be women and some women want to be men, and that's certainly causing a controversy. What do you make of that, John? What do you make of these gender-neutral bathrooms and many people on the right, talking about it, and then people on the left defending it? What do you make of the times that we're in right now? And I've always said that, listen, if you're born a man, you shouldn't be able to fight a woman. I don't care what transition you're in, whether it's in the boxing or in professional sports. I'm against that. I mean, what do you make of that whole situation, what's transpiring with that?
Well, you're right. It's not fair in sports, but I disagree with you. I think some people are just not right for the gender that they were assigned because of their sex organs, and they were deeply miserable, and they ought to be able to get the hormones or the or the surgery and change so they're comfortable with themselves, and we should leave them alone. Now, there's a movement that says you can't call them trannies or you can only use certain words, and I think that's wrong.
Yeah, I agree with you there. What do you make of, I'd be hesitant if I didn't ask you, what do you make of this impeachment inquiry and these proceedings? Do you think it's a circus? There are many people on the right that say there's no evidence to back the fact that President did anything wrong. There's other Republicans that say, yes, he probably did do something wrong and inappropriate, but they don't believe it reaches to the level of impeaching the president. What do you say as a libertarian?
I say it is a circus, and the country's going broke, and Congress is focusing only on this when it's obvious that the House will impeach him and the Senate won't. Yes, I assume he did something wrong, that he did tit for tat, investigate Biden, or I won't give you the money, because he's a sleazy guy. I hate Trump. He's just a liar and a braggart and a bully and a narcissist. Look at me, look at me. I mean, when 3-year-olds do this, Mommy, look me, I'm the best. And you're supposed to outgrow that.
You're right.
And yet I'm sure glad he's president rather than Hillary and the clan of Democrats that would suffocate our freedom.
So you agree with me then. The reason why I hate Trump is 95% of it has nothing to do with policy. For me, it's his behavior. Like you said, everything is about me, me, me. If the guy just stayed off of Twitter and stopped insulting people left and right and wasn't so insecure, I might vote for him. But, John, that's the reason why I don't like him. But what you're saying, is, I think, is similar to my opinion in that the guy's behavior is disgusting, right? I don't really dislike the guy because of policy. Is that what I'm getting from you as well?
Yes, two disagreements. Policy-wise, I don't like the tariffs. But otherwise, he actually stopped the constant increase in regulation, and that's why we have low unemployment.
Right.
Boy, there was just one. I don't want him to stop tweeting because maybe it will help convince people that the president is not God or Santa Claus, and that he's a fallible human being, and we shouldn't give them so much power.
Do you think that the Democrats have a viable candidate in 2020?
You mean somebody who might win?
Yeah.
Sure. Trump's not that popular anymore, and it's only going down. Bernie could win, and Elizabeth Warren could win, and that's terrifying.
Yeah. No, I tend to agree with you. I'm not a Hillary supporter either. So, John, you've won 19 Emmy Awards. You've won plenty of awards, and you've had a fantastic career. So I want to give people an opportunity. Maybe they haven't been able to check out Stossel TV. Can you tell us a little bit about it? How can people find you on there?
Just Google it. Or johnstossel.com, and we get about 1 million views a week. I release for each video. We release them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. But people think you post something on Facebook, it's shown to all your friends or all your subscribers. But no, the social media companies send them to only some people. So we encourage people to give us their email, and then we'll send you an email with a link to it. We won't sell your email or give it to anybody else.
That's refreshing. I appreciate that. Well, John, I would love to have you come in studio if you're ever in Las Vegas. I don't know if you've spent any time here. I would imagine you've been here before. What are your thoughts on Las Vegas?
I don't love it. I don't love the giant hotels and the culture that comes out of gambling, because most people are disappointed. But it's lots of fun, and I come out for Freedom Fest every year.
Oh, cool. Okay.
So I'll be there. So
cool. Well, listen, you're a legend in this business. We greatly respect you, and we appreciate the fact that you took some time to join us, and we hope we can have you on again sometime, John. Thank you so much.
Nice to talk to you guys.
All right. Nice to talk to you,
John.
There you go. Award-winning reporter and journalist John Stossel. I will always remember that video with Dr. D in 1984 when he's interviewing that wrestler, and he says, be honest, wrestling's fake, isn't it? And then this guy, Dr. D, just beats the piss out of him. That was one of the most, in my personal opinion, one of the most shocking moments as a journalist
I mean, that's
interviewing
crazy.
somebody. It was unbelievable.
He's 6'8", 280 pounds.
But here's the thing about the video. I don't know if you ever saw it. So he smacks him in the face, smacks Stossel in the face. Stossel falls to the ground. You think that would be the end of it, right? He gets back up and then he smacks him again. I don't mean to laugh. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but it is kind of funny. It was kind of funny.
How big do you think that lawsuit was, Brian? That payoff? I mean, it had to have been 7 figures. Had to have been 7
I should have
figures.
asked him that. I don't know. I would say at least $500,000. I'm guessing. I don't know. I'm sure Stossel did just fine.
And do you think that wrestler ever wrestled again?
Yeah, he did. He did.
Really?
Oh, yeah, he did.
Wow.
He did. Now, the rumors were circulating that Vince McMahon told him to do that. Hey, if Stossel says that wrestling is fake, smack him in the face. Don't hurt him badly, but just smack him around a little bit. I could totally see Vince McMahon telling Dr. D to do that back in 1984. Right. Now, today, that would never happen.
As a publicity stunt.
Yeah.
Back then to get the word out about
today,
the federation.
Today, that would never happen.
No, absolutely not.
Because that wrestler would literally be ostracized. You'd never let a guy back into the WWE. I believe back then it was the WWF.
And I'll tell you that he's the guy in that video. He sounded like he was. I mean, I don't know why he was so pumped up. He sounded like he was on steroids or he was on cocaine. He just seemed very, very animated.
Speaking of wrestlers, we're going to have some professional wrestlers in studio on Wednesday. There is a wrestling event in town Wednesday night. We're going to get some of those wrestlers to come in studio to talk about that. But hey, we got the news coming up here in just a few minutes with John Schaefer, and then after that, I have been chomping at the bits to talk UNLV hoops. Really bad loss over the weekend to BYU. Now, there's some fans that are making excuses for TJ Otzelberger, and then there are others that are saying, boy, this is really, really bad. I'm going to give you our thoughts on that coming up in just a little bit. John Schaefer doing the news coming up, and then, of course, in the 10 a.m. hour, Michael Avenatti. Take a quick break. Be back right after this. You're listening to The Vegas Take.